Why do some men have women chasing them while others get ghosted, used and forgotten like last week's text? Because most men are programmed to chase, impress and submit. But the ones who don't, the ones who live by a code, who are unmoved, unfazed and undeniably grounded, those men aren't just remembered, they're obsessed over. You're about to learn something that will change how women see you for the rest of your life. I've put together the most potent collection of Stoic truths ever revealed for men today. It's called the Stoic Relationship Blueprint, and it's not just another ebook. It's your edge. Backed by 2,000 plus years of time-tested wisdom, it's the guide I wish I had years ago. We're protecting this knowledge. It's available now, but only for a short time. Click the link in the comments to grab it before it's gone. Drop a Stoic in the comments to let me know you're ready for this level of power. Now let's talk about the 7 acts that make a woman fall so deep she can't stop thinking about you. Number 1. Walk away without explaining. There's nothing more unforgettable than the man who walks away without a single justification. And the impact of that act doesn't just stay with her, it etches itself deep into her psyche. She replays it not because of what you said, but because of what you didn't. And it's in the absence of your words that your presence becomes thunderously loud in her mind. When you leave without complaint, without a final argument, without trying to make her understand your side, you immediately rise in value in a world saturated with needy validation, seeking men who can't stomach the idea of not being liked. And when you remove yourself entirely after she's disrespected you, when you withdraw your presence without ceremony or emotion, she's forced to confront a terrifying truth. You are a man who needs no one to validate his decisions, and that realization shifts something fundamental in her. She may tell her friends you ghosted, she may act cold to maintain her ego, but deep inside, she's remembering the time you looked her in the eyes, didn't flinch when she tested you, didn't argue when she pulled away, and when she crossed your boundary, you simply vanished, without dramatics, without a fight, without showing your pain. And that wound you leave, it stays open, not because she cared so much, but because you didn't beg her to. It's an energy shift, a declaration of self-worth without words, and only men who have complete trust in their value are capable of doing this. Ask yourself, have you ever overstayed where you were no longer valued, fought for someone who stopped fighting for you, tried to explain yourself to someone who didn't care to listen? Imagine instead of sending another message, you simply removed your attention like a king rising from the table because the feast no longer honored his presence. And this isn't manipulation. This is rooted in the timeless Stoic principle that says, never depend on the admiration of others. There is no strength in dependency. And when you internalize this, you stop begging to be heard and start moving like a man who knows his soul is too heavy for someone with shallow intentions. The truth is, when you leave without noise, you become the echo she can't escape, and she'll scroll back through your conversations, trying to decode the moment you detached, wondering why you didn't try harder, questioning what made you so calm, and in that uncertainty, obsession is born. Not because you played games, but because you gave her no closure, and no closure means no control. This is the law of psychological gravity. The more a woman feels she's losing her grip on your certainty, the more she desires to understand you, and the more she desires, the more she imagines. And in imagination, fantasy grows. So your absence becomes a canvas for every version of you she wishes you still were. And that's how she falls deeper long after you've gone. So instead of making speeches next time a woman disrespects your worth, practice stillness. End the chapter with the same calm you began it. Let your exit be the exclamation point and not the start of another argument, because the most powerful man in the room is never the loudest. He's the one who can leave everything he wanted behind the moment he sees it no longer aligns with the man he's becoming. Number 2. Be immovably unreactive. You stop being attractive the very moment you show her that her chaos can alter your course, that her emotions pull you out of your frame, that her drama controls your peace, because emotional reactivity is weakness in disguise. It's the symptom of a man who hasn't cultivated depth, and when a woman knows your emotions sit at the surface ready to erupt, you no longer feel strong to her, you feel unsafe, and not in the dangerous, exciting way, but in the way that screams instability, and men must understand this one truth. The more predictable your reactions, the less power you hold. Ask yourself, what would it feel like to sit across from a woman trying to provoke you with sarcasm or passive-aggressive comments, and instead of biting, you calmly observe her, breathe slowly, and say nothing? Not out of fear, but because you've mastered the art of stillness, the Stoic mastery of self, where no external drama hijacks your inner world. That is the kind of man who commands not just attention, but respect. And this is the same principle echoed in ancient Stoic wisdom that teaches us that we are disturbed not by events, but by the views we take of them, meaning no situation holds the power to shift your state unless you hand it over. And when you become the man who doesn't react, who doesn't flinch, doesn't raise his voice, doesn't argue, you trigger something powerful in her. She realizes she cannot move you, and that realization rewrites the way she sees you. In a world where every man is bending, folding, apologizing for emotions he didn't create, you become a fortress. And even if she doesn't like you in that moment, she will remember you. And it is not hatred that breeds desire, it's fascination, and fascination is born in the tension of not being able to predict or control a man's energy. This is the moment you shift from being another option to the enigma her emotions can't decode, and you don't need money, looks, or status to become this man. You need discipline, the kind of discipline that allows you to sit in discomfort without reacting, to hear criticism without defending, to experience chaos without matching it. And next time she says something to bait you, choose not to react, not to lecture, not to chase clarity, just lean back and observe. And what you'll notice is, she'll begin escalating, she'll push harder, she'll say things that would break most men. And when you still don't fold, when you still speak calmly or say nothing, that's when her whole body starts recalibrating around your energy, because you've now proven something most men can't. You are a man who rules himself, and if you can rule yourself, you are the kind of man she begins to respect, trust, and desire. Because the one who controls himself is the one who eventually controls the room. And in a society that tells you reacting fast is strength, Stoicism teaches that he who angers you conquers you, and the moment you master that truth, you stop being conquered and start being craved. Number 3. Starve her of attention. The man who doesn't flood her with consistent attention is the one she thinks about at 2 a.m., when her phone doesn't light up, when the notifications stop coming, when she wonders what happened to the validation she used to receive without asking. Because nothing drives desire like uncertainty. Nothing makes her analyze every detail of your presence like the absence of it showing up in the way she expected. And this act, when executed from the foundation of genuine purpose and inner-centeredness, makes her question how a man could be so composed, so non-attached, and still so magnetic. And what most men don't understand is that constant availability kills emotional impact. That being too predictable doesn't communicate affection, it communicates lack of priority. Because when you train her to expect your messages, your time, your presence on a fixed schedule, she no longer treasures it. She schedules it mentally like a routine, and routines don't stimulate the emotional center of a woman's brain, they dull it. Now ask yourself this: have you ever gone all in emotionally from day one, checked in constantly, double-texted, responded in seconds, only to be met with fading interest, slower replies, colder energy, and confusion as to what went wrong? That confusion came from you misunderstanding the reality of value. Scarcity breeds value, not consistency. And when you decide that your time isn't a gift she gets by default, but a rare energy that she must notice when it's missing, that's when she starts to crave it. That's when her curiosity turns into fixation. And you don't achieve this by pretending to be busy. You achieve it by actually being busy with the mission you're building, the goals you've buried yourself in, the daily self-development you refuse to compromise for any woman. And when you build a life so rich in purpose that you no longer need to simulate distance, that's when the real shift happens. Not because you're unavailable for attention's sake, but because your life is now too full of meaning to entertain low-effort emotional patterns, and from that space, the attention you do give hits harder, matters more, becomes the highlight of her day instead of a given. And imagine now you text her out of nowhere after 2 days of silence, saying something powerful yet minimal. She'll reread it, analyze it, anticipate your next move, because unpredictability is the birthplace of longing, and longing is the birthplace of obsession. And no woman becomes obsessed with a man who's always there, always giving, always showing up like a vending machine on command. So use your attention like currency. Spend it wisely, not emotionally. And remember what the Stoics teach, that he who is enslaved to validation will never experience freedom, and it is only the man who is free from needing her attention that can dictate its value with unmatched authority. Number 4. Be her reflection, not her solution. Most men ruin the polarity of a relationship the moment they attempt to solve her chaos, instead of letting her navigate it in your presence, because what women want isn't to be fixed. They want to be felt, and when you constantly try to offer solutions, fix her bad day, cheer her up like a clown, or erase her emotional turbulence with excessive positivity or control, what you're really doing is telling her, I'm uncomfortable with your emotions, and I need you to be okay for me to feel secure. And that communicates weakness, not compassion. Now imagine she's venting about her boss or her friend or her family, and instead of interrupting or offering a plan, you sit there calmly, nodding occasionally, holding eye contact, not moving to fix anything, just anchoring yourself as the grounded presence she can collapse into without fear of judgment or urgency. And as she realizes you're not trying to change her state, but simply allowing her to be in it, something powerful shifts. She begins to feel emotionally safe because she's not being rushed out of her feelings. She's being witnessed in them. And this kind of presence is extremely rare, which makes it unbelievably attractive, because most men panic in the face of female emotion. They try to control it or avoid it. But when you sit there and let her unravel and just say, I hear you, not out of strategy, but from genuine grounded masculinity, you become the calm ocean in her stormy night. And no, that doesn't mean you have to endure toxic behavior or tolerate disrespect. It means you no longer believe it's your responsibility to solve everything for her, and that belief frees you from emotional exhaustion while drawing her deeper into your gravity. Because when a woman sees that her chaos doesn't unseat you, that her feelings don't trigger yours, she begins to associate you with peace, and peace is rare, peace is magnetic, peace becomes a home, and the Stoics taught that we must not aim to change the world, but to change how we respond to it. And when she watches you respond not with instructions, but with steadiness, you no longer become another reactive man desperate to gain favor. You become the exception, the one who doesn't need to impress her with solutions, but seduces her with presence, the one who doesn't rescue her from emotion, but lets her sit in it without pressure to change. And that dynamic slowly builds trust, attraction, and reverence, because you're not her savior. You're the man who trusts her to figure things out while standing unshakable beside her. And that's how emotional safety is born, not from fixing her, but from making her feel seen without the need to adjust her experience. Number 5, speak directly and say no often. There is something unshakably powerful about a man who communicates with precision, a man who speaks with the weight of conviction and doesn't dilute his message with excessive politeness or emotional softeners, because in a world where men constantly walk on eggshells, terrified to offend, desperate to please, the one who sets boundaries with clarity and backs them with action becomes magnetic. And the truth is, every time you say yes when your instincts scream no, you lose a fragment of your masculinity, not just in her eyes, but in your own, because compromise without alignment chips away at your identity until you become the shadow of a man who used to know what he wanted. And this is why saying no is not rejection, it's protection. It's the act of preserving your values against the erosion of guilt and emotional manipulation. So when a woman suggests something you're not aligned with, like inviting her ex to a mutual party, pushing for trips you don't want to take, changing plans last minute expecting you to adapt, when you say no with a calm tone and unwavering energy, you signal that you are not a man who seeks harmony at the cost of self-respect. And that form of leadership is felt on a visceral level because it shows you prioritize truth over approval, and she may resist it. She may even challenge you, but deep down, she will admire you for standing firm, because people don't respect boundaries they don't feel. And a boundary without the courage to enforce it is just a suggestion. So next time you feel hesitation rising in your chest when something doesn't sit right, honor it. Say no, not with anger, not with justification, but with certainty. And if she asks why, keep your explanation brief and honest. That's not something I'm okay with, or that doesn't work for me, because every time you stand behind your word, you send a message to yourself and to her that your inner compass is not for sale. And this taps into the Stoic principle of self-governance, the belief that a man must be ruled by his principles, not his emotions or the reactions of others. And when you master this, you no longer seek to control outcomes. You simply trust that being deeply aligned with who you are is more valuable than temporary peace bought through inauthenticity, and you'll start to notice something strange happening. The more you say no, the more she respects your yes, because she knows it comes from truth, not obligation. And this builds a dynamic grounded in trust, polarity, and attraction. Because women aren't drawn to men who agree. They're drawn to men who lead, and leadership without decisiveness is an illusion. So speak with power, say no when needed, and remember that every no you say with clarity protects your dignity, your energy, and your mission. And that's not just attractive, it's sacred. Number 6, create emotional mystery. The more she thinks she knows everything about you, the faster she puts you in a box. And the truth is, once a woman believes she's figured you out, she stops imagining you, she stops replaying your words, she stops wondering what you're thinking when you go quiet. And that's where attraction dies, not from something you did wrong, but from giving too much too soon, too easily, too predictably. Because mystery isn't about being cold or distant, it's about maintaining a private inner world that she doesn't have full access to. And that inner world is created when you move through life with discipline, curiosity, and a sense of purpose so deep that not even she can decode it. And when she asks you about your past, and you share only what's necessary, when she wants to know how you feel, and you express it in a way that's honest but reserved, when you let her in slowly, with intention, you create a sense of unfolding that keeps her emotionally invested, because the unknown stimulates imagination, and imagination fuels desire. So instead of laying your heart bare on the first few dates, instead of pouring out your traumas in the hope of emotional intimacy, hold some of your story back, not to play games, but to create space for her curiosity to grow. And when you do share, do so in layers. Reveal things when the moment asks for it. when it adds to the experience, and not just to fill silence or avoid awkwardness, because a man who can sit with his own thoughts, who isn't afraid to keep a few secrets sacred, becomes a puzzle she wants to solve, not a diary she's already read cover to cover. And this aligns with the Stoic idea that a man should always be calm, collected, and self-possessed, not just in action, but in energy. And part of that energy is the ability to withhold, not as a strategy, but as a natural extension of being selective with your vulnerability, and vulnerability done right is powerful. It's the difference between saying, "I've been through things," versus dragging her through every wound hoping she'll validate your healing. And when you begin to see yourself as a book worth reading slowly, not speed running through for emotional highs, you change the pace of the relationship and pull her into a rhythm that keeps her emotionally engaged, because it's not about being unavailable, it's about being unpredictable in how you open up, how you move, how you express. And that unpredictability is what makes your presence linger in her mind long after you've left the room. Because she's not just thinking about what you said, she's wondering what you meant, what you're thinking now, where you are, who you're with. And that kind of curiosity isn't manipulative. It's primal. It's the result of holding your masculine energy with such intentional restraint that she leans in without even realizing it. And if you want to be the man who she never fully figures out, who always keeps her interested, who maintains depth and power through every phase of the connection, then embrace mystery not as a tactic, but as a lifestyle. Cultivate a world she can orbit without fully landing, and let her chase understanding, not because you're withholding affection, but because you're too full of depth to be understood in a day. Number 7. Make her earn your commitment. There is a profound difference between a man who offers himself to a woman simply because she desires him, and a man who evaluates her actions, consistency, and alignment with his values before even considering exclusivity. And the mistake most men make is handing over their emotional loyalty before she has shown herself to be worthy of it, not through beauty or charm, but through reliability, integrity, peace, and mutual respect. Because a woman doesn't value what comes without effort, and the moment you give her the title, the energy, and the resources of a committed man before she's proven anything, you shift the dynamic from empowered to entitled. And entitlement erodes attraction faster than any flaw. So instead of making her the center of your world because she smiles at you or shows affection during the honeymoon phase, take a breath and remember that your commitment is the crown. It must be earned, not awarded by default, and that earning process isn't about making her jump through hoops or playing hard to get. It's about observing how she responds to your boundaries, how she supports your vision, how she handles stress, how she treats others when things don't go her way, and whether she brings peace or confusion into your life. And when you see her trying to fast-track intimacy through emotional stories or sudden declarations, slow down and watch, not because you're skeptical, but because wisdom demands you assess not her words, but her patterns, because anyone can show up for a few weeks. Anyone can be sweet when it's convenient, but the true test is time, pressure, and distance. So give yourself the space to witness her essence, not just her intentions. And when she asks where things are going, you have every right to say, "I'm getting to know you, and I move at the pace of truth." Because women respect the man who isn't in a rush to claim or be claimed, who doesn't need validation through labels, and that restraint, that patience, that refusal to be swept away by surface-level connection is what separates you from every man who gave too much too fast, who confused chemistry with compatibility. And this is where the Stoic wisdom shines, because to delay gratification, to choose alignment over impulse, to hold your value until it's mirrored back to you in consistent, loyal behavior, is to live by principle, not passion. And passion fades, but principle builds foundations. So if you want a woman to cherish your commitment, don't give it away in exchange for affection, attention, or the hope that she'll become what you need. Give it only after she's consistently shown you who she is, not who she says she is. And don't be afraid to walk away if she expects you to settle for less, because settling for less doesn't make you strong or understanding. It makes you dishonest with yourself, and there is no strength in betraying your standards just to keep someone around. So take your time. Observe without attachment, lead with presence, and remember that your love is not a default, it's a decision, and only a woman who shows up with the same level of depth, commitment, and self-awareness should ever be invited to share the kingdom you're building, because a king does not open the gates to every traveler. He watches, he waits, and when the right one proves her loyalty through peace, action, and consistency, he opens the doors, not with desperation, but with discernment, and that is what makes her stay. Not because she has to, but because she knows she's chosen by a man who doesn't just give love, he gives legacy. You've made it here because deep down, you know the cost of staying the same. You've felt the weight of giving too much and getting nothing back, of loving women who barely respected you, of waking up next to someone and still feeling completely alone. You've been lied to, used, overlooked, emasculated, and told that being strong is toxic, that being assertive is abusive, that being a man means staying quiet while you're broken inside. You've watched your energy get drained by women who never earned it, your identity shaped by attention that was never real, and your worth questioned because you refused to play by society's broken rules. But it doesn't have to stay that way, because I created something that every man who feels what you feel needs: the Stoic relationship blueprint. This isn't just another ebook. This is a weapon, a philosophy, a step-by-step guide born from 2,000 years of timeless wisdom, a blueprint that reshapes your entire identity as a man and reclaims your place in the world, not as someone who begs for love, but as someone who commands it effortlessly. It's now available to the public, but not for long. We're capping the number of sales to only a few, because truth like this isn't meant for everyone. It's reserved for those ready to lead, not follow, for those done suffering in silence and ready to rewrite the script. If you're serious, comment "The Blueprint" right now. Then click the link in the comments, grab the book, and start transforming your relationships and your life today. Don't wait. You waited long enough. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with the men who need this truth.